So here, the biggest portion of that is there are two important dimensions. One is the blockade of Hormuz or controlling of the Hormuz, which Iran exercised, and which is then now being further blockaded by the United States. So these double blockade has brought a very big distress in the international energy scenario, fertilizer, food, helium, and all kinds of trade activities that could take place. So we are seeing the disruptions of value and supply chains. So they all were attacked. Therefore, they instead of directly confronting Iranians, what they have done is they are trying to find some kind of a modus vivendi, especially Saudi Arabia, which has been working together with China, with Iran for normalizing ties. Out of all this dynamic, while others may go along, they are also even, by the way, talking about a non-aggression pact with Iran now. And on the other hand, the United Arab Emirates has gone its own different path, which is more akin or aligned with Israel and the United States. India has been working with UAE for laying pipelines and energy, under the IMEC corridor. Energy transportation is also a very major element of it. So, therefore, it is possible that we will increase our imports from UAE, and that is also the only country which has allowed India an exploration rights in its oil fields.
Sir, did India underestimate the impact of the Iran crisis because the government was playing it cool?
About half of our energy supplies are coming from there. You are getting your helium, you are getting your sulfur, you are getting your petroleum products from these countries. So we started diversifying, getting oil and gas from USA, from Argentina even, and from Brazil, and now also from the Russia. Again, we are getting about 40% of our requirements. But that which used to come at a discount earlier is no longer on a discounted price from Russia also.
The war continues for another 2 to 3 months. Things will be really bad for us. Do you
That
see
is
any
true.
way
I mean,
out?
those are the projections by most observers and economists. There is no doubt. We have to, number one, greatly focus on Africa now. We must increase our imports directly through Cape of Good Hope. That is something that provides you some
Is the
leeway.
government working for that?
Yes, we have with Nigeria, we have with Angola, we have with some other countries, and we are signing agreements and also working closely with those countries. We are already importing, but what I'm saying is we can import much more from these countries,
Is
which is
India very
extremely.
unduly yielding to USA?
You don't yield. I mean, the government's position and rule position is very clear. We do not recognize unilateral sanctions. It's simple. Today,
Everyone
Qatar
is
is not able
impacted.
to generate $1 in the last months. UAE, I was there recently. I mean, you can see that 10-15% people are there. The hotel occupancies, everything. So it has a direct impact on many of these economies. I mean, and they are the very rich economies.
Hi, this is Pratim Bose, and you're watching Podcast with Pratim. I have with me Ambassador Anil Trigunayat. Welcome to the show, sir.
Namaskar.
Sir, your predictions on Iran crisis has partly proved correct, partly because UAE is now out of OPEC. So a big change in the scenario. You can tell us that to what extent it will impact the situation over there further.
Well, thank you once again, Pratimji, for inviting me to your very famous podcast. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. This war, unfortunately, has continued to over 80 days now and is impacting the whole world and especially the region. We have seen that there are these regional fault lines have come into the open, whether it is between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates or between Iran and Saudi Arabia and others. While Israel and Iran's mad syndrome was always clear, this has been for the first time brought to the level of a direct conflict in a way in the last 1 year because the United States went along with it. Earlier, United States had always refused to be a party to attack overtly. Covert operations were continuing, and that everybody knew it. And that was below the threshold. Iran did what it has been always threatening, especially after June 2025, that if it is attacked again, it would close the Strait of Hormuz. It will attack all on the bases assets of United States and Israel. And this is precisely what it went. Now, they do not, perhaps at this stage, think of the consequences or tomorrow. For them, it became a question of somehow survival, which was the regime survival converted into national survival. Now, that is something which we see has brought about a lot of people who were earlier disgruntled with the regime, also supporting because for their country. And it happens in most countries whenever there is an attack from outside. Now,
So it
uh,
helped Iran
this
to consolidate opinion within the
consolidate
country.
the opinion in this stage, of course. And that helps them because, see, then a united country can fight better under any adverse circumstances than a fragmented country. So here, the biggest portion of that is there are two important dimensions. One is the blockade of Hormuz or controlling of the Hormuz, which Iran exercised, and which is then now being further blockaded by the United States. So these double blockade has brought a very big distress in the international energy scenario, fertilizer, food, helium, and all kinds of trade activities that could take place. So we are seeing the disruptions of value and supply chains, which will dictate diversification. So there's going to be a very major change going forward. On the other hand, we have seen that the countries within the Gulf, which have been attacked by Iran, which maintain mostly the strategic restraint, have also now are deciding on a very different trajectory. In the beginning, they were thinking that perhaps the Americans will be able to protect them, which turned out to be fallacious because it could not happen. Americans were not able to do so. So they all were attacked. Therefore, they instead of directly confronting Iranians, what they have done is they are trying to find some kind of a modus vivendi, especially Saudi Arabia, which has been working together with China, with Iran for normalizing ties. It was also attacked. It has much more to lose than compared to others. It's the biggest economy. And all their oil installations, the gas installations, the critical infrastructure is not really covered by the kind of uh, the the protection mechanisms one requires. Out of all this dynamic, while others may go along, they are also even, by the way, talking about a non-aggression pact with Iran now. And on the other hand, the United Arab Emirates has gone its own different path, which is more akin or aligned with Israel and the United States. It is reported that Israeli Prime Minister visited during with his chief of staff during these fight that has been going on, and also installed its Iron Dome for the first time in anywhere outside. So they, whether it is Abraham Accords, whether it is I2U2, their relationship has really gone very strong in this sense. So that's precisely what we are today looking at, and we are finding it as a major, just one second, please, as a major issue. Now, if the division is within the Gulf countries, like you have seen that you mentioned about it, that UAE walked out of OPEC. UAE walked out of OPEC because its capacity apparently is about 4.7 million barrels per day.
Very low
Under
capacity.
the under this agreement, which is a major, all the countries, the 12, 13 countries part of it, they really dictate the prices in order to regulate the market and the production. So therefore, production cuts were there, so they were able to do only 2.7 or 2.8 million barrels per day. Even that has been restricted now because of Hormuz. So Iran, the Emiratis for quite some time have been disgruntled by that. That compared to they are not able to fulfill their own capacity. So therefore they walked out of it, and there are of course internal issues that they have with basically the Saudis. And once they walked out of it, now you mentioned about supplies to India. Now our refineries, 23 refineries require about 5 million barrels per day. And as you know, that UAE happens to be our third largest trading partner, second largest export market. and one of the major top three, four oil suppliers to us. And so, if it has worked out on a new or it's already existing, but going to be doubled up pipeline through Fujairah, which just lies
Right.
outside the Strait
Outside
of
the,
Hormuz.
yeah,
India has been working with UAE for laying pipelines and energy, under the IMEC corridor. Energy transportation is also a very major element of it. So, therefore, it is possible that we will increase our imports from UAE, and that is also the only country which has allowed India an exploration rights in its oil fields. And it has also been working with us on its strategic reserves. And that is why I think that Prime Minister Modi's visit to UAE was in that particular context.
right. Sir, that's interesting that the pipeline may actually be part of the IMEC that is coming through, kind of. Sir, did India underestimate the impact of the Iran crisis? Because the government was playing it cool. Well, it said that this, we all were anticipating about it, etc., etc. But the government was playing it cool until uh, 10 days ago when the Prime Minister uh, literally asked people to take observe austerity measures. And we all know that if the war doesn't stop in next 2 to 3 months, we are in very bad shape. So that takes me to the question that whether we underestimated the impact. In fact, suddenly started increasing pump prices of fuel, right? We delayed it. So obviously, the macroeconomic fundamentals are not great at this moment.
Most of the economists have been talking about this. But let me tell you, I mean, I have always maintained that volatility in West Asia has an existential impact for India. As simple as that. This is the most important geography for us. We have never wanted any kind of a conflict or war, and that is why India has always propagated the idea of de escalation, dialogue, and diplomacy. And dehyphenation is something that we have followed, having relationships with all the countries. Now, obviously, this war has been imposed on Iran, and Iran used whatever it has to restrict the supply chains and disrupt them. That is having direct impact on us. About half of our energy supplies are coming from there. You are getting your helium, you are getting your sulfur, you are getting your petroleum products from these countries. Qatar is not producing any gas now anymore because of these attacks. So we were importing so much, and we had signed a big agreement, long-term agreement with Qatar also for
Right.
supply of gas. Our own industry was being diverted towards more use of LNG and LPG. Now that is something those industries were impacted within the first 2 weeks itself, and it has been written about. Many of the economists, including some closer to the government, had been predicting that in case this war continues for more than a month or 2 months, then it might have a direct impact on our economy and the GDP. And that's precisely what is happening. So you remember that in the beginning itself, when they started regulating the LPG and the gas connections, and then government started regulating it, that was an indication enough. Prices of oil was not increased in the beginning because India was hoping that it was able to continue to get some ships, I think, through the Strait of Hormuz itself. Out of our 24 ships, we were able to get about 11 of them. So therefore, some kind of supplies continued to beef up, and we also thought that we had enough reserves, and that has been something I have not been able to get exact figure, exactly how many days reserves we have. But the whole idea was to have a minimum of 45 days to 180 days reserves. But reserves are reserves at
We
the
don't
end of
have
the day.
180 days reserves. We
Yeah, we
we
don't.
have,
We don't. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. So I don't have the exact figure for how many days you have because there's several contradictory figures coming out in the media or other thing. Only last thing you can see is that whatever the government has said can be the figure that we can take it from here, irrespective. Now that can be in a very short term view. Long term is not there. So we started diversifying, getting oil and gas from USA, from Argentina even, and from Brazil, and now also from the Russia. Again, we are getting about 40% of our requirements. But that which used to come at a discount earlier is no longer on a discounted price from Russia also. So therefore, all these have added to the economic, I would say, challenge for the policy planners to do something. So I think that in the beginning, everybody thought that it might be for a week or 10 days, the war will be over. But I guess that like most countries in the world, including United States, people did not realize that how long the Iranians will be able to have resilience and carry forward this war. So war, open-ended wars have a destabilizing impact on all economies, and India is no exception to that.
I think India is disproportionately impacted because
Yes,
China gets its gas, part of its gas from Russia. So they are more protected than us. But India, Japan, etc., these countries are generally impacted. And we are most impacted because for gas, we look at only the Middle East.
yes.
Sir, what is the way out? Do you see any way out? You said the big, you outlined it. First, unlike the COVID days when we started buying oil from Russia at a discounted price, there are no discounts. No one will give you discounts now. Uh, so, and whenever you are trying to bringing oil from other sources, your landed cost is increasing.
Yes,
That's
much higher.
another problem.
Hmm.
So all put together, so do you see any prospect that the economy may, if the war continues for another 2 to 3 months, things will be really bad for us. Do you
That
see
is
any
true.
way
I mean,
out?
those are the projections by most observers and economists. There is no doubt. Prime Minister himself has spoken about it. I mean, I think it could not have been more clear about this. I think that first thing, let us see, and hope is not a strategy, as I say always. Let us hope this war ends now. And if this war ends, that means the sanctions on the Iranians will be lifted. We used to import about 11, 12% of our requirement from Iran. We would be able to do so. We have actually imported after 2019 for the first time 5 million barrels of oil. Iranian oil was purchased by Reliance this time during this war. The Russians, as you know, that again for the till that such time that the negotiations are going on between U.S. and Iran, they have lifted the embargo on the or the sanctions on the Iranian oil as well, apart from the Russian oil. Now, one more month, this thing has been provided. So that's why the private companies, anybody else who is also working with the United States, can freely import as much as they can. On the other hand, India, as per the Ministry of Petroleum, imports from about 39, 40 countries or sources.
40
Yes, oil.
countries.
We have to, number one, greatly focus on Africa now. We must increase our imports directly through Cape of Good Hope. That is something that provides you some
Is the
leeway.
government working for that?
Yes, we have with Nigeria, we have with Angola, we have with some other countries, and we are signing agreements and also working closely with those countries. We are already importing, but what I'm saying is we can import much more from these countries, irrespective
It is
of the
oil
American
or
position.
also gas?
Oil mainly,
Okay.
because Nigeria is a big producer, but they are not able to harness the gas because of their internal issues. So unless you are going to invest a great deal in that place or something, it will not be. But I think that that is an option that we need to see. Second option, of course, is your renewables. As much as we can do, we must expedite going forward as much, I mean, to the maximum extent possible, diversify that. Apart from sources of energy, we have to have the sources of supplies also. Thirdly, I think that one position that the government will have to take is that irrespective of the whatever Americans say or anybody else say, and government maintains it that our national interest is supreme. I think the Russians are ready to supply us irrespective. Putin himself said that we are not bothered about who says what, but we'll continue to sell our oil to anybody and everybody because oil is a commodity. And the unilateral sanctions somehow should not. So, what we should be doing right going forward? We should, in any case, because there will be the unilateral sanctions as long as we have the superpowers, is going to be a reality. I think that it is high time, that we start having some kind of a special purpose vehicles And those special purpose vehicles must be made immune from these kind of international sanctions by having a bilaterally focused trading and exchange mechanism, whether it is for oil or for other commodities. So it is extremely important. Then, because see, there is nobody is is totally safe from one source or the other. So anything can happen in today's world,
Is
which is
India very
extremely.
unduly yielding to USA?
You don't yield. I mean, the government's position and rule position is very clear. We do not recognize unilateral sanctions. It's simple. Number one. But it is the private companies and the government companies which do business several places. Now, if you want to do with a country which has been sanctioned, what happens is you get impacted totally in your other markets also, because most of these companies are importing from large number of countries. So everybody will get impacted. And today, whether we like it or not, the US based financing system is still operative, whether it's SWIFT or other. So those sanctions, which are called secondary sanctions like CARTSA, will impact you. Now, the businessman will not like to get into that kind of situation. And that's precisely becomes a great difficulty. At the moment, situation is in a flux. So I think that we'll have to do a multi-pronged effort in different directions, using every single possible avenue that is available to us, because our dependency on the hydrocarbons, irrespective of the kind of 500 or 700 gigawatt of renewables that we are going to get into. Uh,
Renewables are not going to give you fertilizer. We need gas for the fertilizer.
Very true. Very true.
Yes, yes, you can
This is
make
what
it
I'm
from
saying.
naphtha, but then
Yeah.
you have to wait until you make those plants. So,
Well, we are also going into coal gasification and all, those
but
kind
those
of
are
things.
long term, at least
Everything
two
is
to
long
three
term, but we
years.
have to start somewhere, isn't it? And now, if a adversity makes you take right policy decisions, so be it. I mean, I take it this way, because this is a kind of a challenge you can't take next time. Otherwise, your economic growth is going to go for a six.
Yeah, yeah.
Already, your ranking is the fifth, sixth economy
I
like
mean,
that.
we didn't simply prepare for exigencies because we closed down naphtha-based fertilizers, right? We went solely for gas. We made some strategic mistakes in the past. We were not ready to face any kind of this kind of situation. That is very clear now.
You see,
But
that is also the situation is that sometimes when you take within your strategy framework that what are the new kind of technologies you're going into this climate change business, you are going into looking at various different kind of options that are available to you, or world is going moving towards it. So our dependency on this hydrocarbons and on energy is more than 70-80% of imports, and about 90% of the gas imports. Now you can keep on diversifying, but this is a commodity without which your daily socio-economic life, your political life, your industrial life, all are going to be heavily impacted. So therefore, you look at all kinds of options. Now, climate change is also a reality. So that also you have to factor. We have huge reserves of coal in India, but then we wanted that the coal plants should be subsided. But that's a resource we have. We must use it to the maximum extent possible. Like the Saudis, for example, they have created this solar thing, solar panel, solar city, whatever you call, 300 square kilometers in one place. Why? They are the one of the biggest, or probably the biggest, richest oil producing country, because they are using that energy.
Saudi Arabia has been preparing itself for the world without oil. For last 10
That
years,
is
they have
true,
been
but
preparing
but that
themselves.
is true, Pratimji. But the fact remains is this particular war has shown how fragile they are. Because
Sir,
you may
tell
have
me,
the oil, you may
right,
have the oil, but if you can't sell it, you can't transport it, it is of no use.
right. Everyone
Qatar
is
is not able
impacted.
to generate $1 in the last months. UAE, I was there recently. I mean, you can see that 10-15% people are there, the hotel occupancies, everything. So it has a direct impact on many of these economies. I mean, and they are the very rich economies. So our country is dependent a great deal. And now that we are also having tremendous heat waves now. So that will be further, injecting issues for us. So you are right. I mean, the difficulties are there. Therefore, it is important that the immediate halt of this war somehow is achieved. I mean, that is the most important thing. And there are some hopeful signs right now. And my hope is simply this, that this should not have been allowed to happen in the first place. Now that it has happened, it should be stopped as soon as possible. Stupidity has no limits.